The Goose Girl. Once upon a time there was an old queen who had a beautiful daughter. When the princess grew up, she was engaged to marry a prince who lived a long way away. The time came for her to be married, and she prepared to travel to the distant kingdom. The aged queen packed up many precious jars of silver and gold and trinkets of gold and silver, for she loved her daughter with all her heart. She also sent her waiting maid to ride with the princess, assist her and hand her to the bridegroom. The princess and the waiting maid each had a horse for the journey, but the horse of the queen's daughter was called Falada and could speak. When the hour of parting came and the aged queen went to her bedroom, took a small knife and cut her finger with it so it bled. Then she held a white handkerchief below, into which she let 3 drops of blood fall, gave it to her daughter and said, "Dear child, keep this carefully. It will help you on your way." They said sorrowful farewells. The princess tucked a handkerchief near her heart, mounted her horse, and then went away to her bridegroom. After she had ridden for a while, she felt a burning thirst and said to the waiting maid, "I'd like to drink. Take the golden cup you have brought for me, and please get me some water from the stream." "If you are thirsty," said the waiting maid, "get off your horse yourself, lay down and drink out of the stream. I don't choose to be your servant." So, in her great thirst, the princess alighted, bent down over the water and drank. Then she said, "Ah, heaven!" The 3 drops of blood answered, "If this your mother knew, her heart would break in 2. But the queen's daughter was humble, said nothing, and mounted her horse again. She rode some miles further, but the day was warm, the sun scorched her, and she was thirsty once more. When they came to another stream, she again asked her waiting maid to fill her golden cup. But the maid said still more haughtily, "If you wish to drink, get it yourself. I don't choose to be your maid." In her great thirst, the princess alighted, bent over the flowing stream, wept and said, "Ah, heaven!" The drops of blood again replied, "If this your mother knew, her heart would break in 2. But as the queen's daughter was drinking and leaning over the stream, the handkerchief with the 3 drops of blood fell down and floated away without her seeing it. The waiting maid, however, had seen it, and she rejoiced, thinking that she now had the upper hand, for since the princess had lost the drops of the queen's blood, she had become weak and powerless. When the princess went to mount her horse Falada again, the waiting maid said, "Falada is more suitable for me, and my nag will do for you." Then the waiting maid, with threats and hard words, made the princess exchange her royal clothes for her own shabby garments, and compelled her to swear by the clear sky above her that she would not say one word of this to anyone at the royal court. If the princess had not taken this oath, she would have been killed on the spot. But Falada saw all this. The waiting maid now mounted Falada, and the true bride the bad horse, and they travelled onwards, until at length they entered the royal palace. There were great rejoicings at their arrival. The prince sprang forward to meet the princess, but lifted the waiting maid from her horse, thinking she was his bride. She was taken upstairs, and the real princess was left standing below. The old king looked out of the window and saw the girl in humble clothing standing in the courtyard. He noticed how dainty and delicate and beautiful she was, and went to the royal apartment to ask his son's bride who the girl she had with her was, the one standing down below in the courtyard. The false bride said, I picked her up on my way to be a companion. Give her something to work at, so she does not stand idle. The old king said, I have a little boy who tends the geese. She may help him. The goose boy was called Conrad, and the true princess became a goose girl. Soon afterwards, the false bride said to the prince, Dearest husband, I beg you, take the horse on which I rode here, and tell the knacker to cut off his head, for he was troublesome on the way. She was afraid that the talking horse might tell what it had seen and heard. The prince promised. The real princess heard that the faithful Falada was to die, and she secretly arranged to pay the knacker a piece of gold if he would do something for her. There was a great dark gateway in the town, through which she passed with the geese every morning and evening. She asked the knacker to nail Falada's head over the gateway, so that she might see him again. Early in the morning, when the princess and Conrad drove their flock beneath the dark gateway, she said in passing, Alas, Falada, hanging there? And the head answered, Alas, princess, how ill you fare! If this your mother knew, her heart would break in two. The princess and the goose boy drove their geese into the country. When they reached a meadow, she sat down and unbound her pure gold hair. Conrad saw it and delighted in its brightness, and wanted to pluck out a few strands. She said, Blow, blow, you gentle wind, I say, blow Conrad's little hat away. Make him chase it here and there, till I have braided all my hair, and bound it up again. And there came such a violent wind that it blew Conrad's hat far across country, and he was forced to run after it. When he came back, she had finished combing her hair and was putting it up again, and he could not get any of it. Then Conrad was angry and would not speak to her while they watched the geese. Next day, when they were driving the geese out through the dark gateway, the princess said, Alas, Falada, hanging there. Falada answered, Alas, princess, how ill you fare! If this your mother knew, her heart would break in two. When she again began to comb her hair in the meadow, Conrad tried to clutch it. So she said in haste, Blow, blow, you gentle wind, I say, blow Conrad's little hat away. Make him chase it here and there, till I have braided all my hair and bound it up again. The wind blew Conrad's hat off his head, and he was forced to run after it. And when he came back, her hair was put up, and he could get none of it. In the evening after they had got home, Conrad went to the old king and said, I won't tend the geese with that girl any longer. The aged king asked the boy to tell him what the girl did that vexed him. Conrad said, In the morning, when we pass beneath the dark gateway with the flock, there is a horse head on the wall, And she says to it, "Alas, Falada, hanging there." And the head replies, "Alas, princess, how ill you fare. If this your mother knew, her heart would break in two." And Conrad told the old king how the girl commanded the wind, so he could not steal her golden hair. The king told him to drive his flock out again the next day. When morning came, the old ruler placed himself behind the dark gateway and heard how the princess spoke to the head of Falada. Then he went into the country and hid himself in a thicket in the meadow. There he soon saw with his own eyes how radiant the girl's hair was, and how she commanded the wind. Then, quite unseen, he went away. When the goose girl came home in the evening, he called her aside and asked why she did all these things. "I may not tell you that. I dare not lament my sorrows to any human being, for I have sworn not to do so by the heaven above me. If I had not sworn, I would have lost my life." He urged her, but could draw nothing from her. Then he said, "If you will not tell me anything, tell your sorrows to the iron stove there." And he went away. Then she crept to the iron stove and began to weep and lament, and emptied her whole heart. She said, "Here I am deserted by the whole world, and yet I am a queen's daughter, and false waiting maid has laid me low. She compelled me to give her my royal clothes. She has taken my place with my bridegroom, and I must be a goose girl. If this my mother knew, her heart would break in two." The aged king, however, was standing outside by the pipe of the stove and was listening to what she said. He returned to the room and asked her to come to him. Royal garments were placed on her, and it was marvelous how beautiful she was. The aged king summoned his son and revealed to him that he had got the false bride, but that the true princess was standing there, the former goose girl. The prince rejoiced with all his heart when he saw the princess's beauty and youth, and a great feast was made ready, to which all the people were invited. At the head of the table sat the prince with the princess on one side of him and the false bride on the other. But the false bride did not recognize the princess in her dazzling dress. When they had eaten and drunk, the aged king asked the false bride a riddle about what punishment a person deserved who had behaved in such and such a way, and related the whole story. Then the false bride said, "Such a person deserves no better fate than to be stripped entirely naked and put in a barrel that is studded inside with pointed nails. 2 white horses should be harnessed to it, which will drag her along through one street after another, till she is dead." "It is you," said the aged king. "You have pronounced your own sentence, and this is what will be done to you." When the sentence had been carried out, the prince married his true bride, and both of them reigned over their kingdom in peace and happiness for a very, very long time.